Here, I'd like to welcome you all to the Leadership Talkies, co-hosted by Epic Club of IIM Visakhapatnam. I also thank you all for giving your valuable time over here because your time is worth, and we assure you that will make your time a very worthful experience. By introducing our very special guest, Mr. Ahmed Aftaf Naqvi, the CEO and co-founder of GoZoo. Mr. Ahmed, hello, hi, welcome you, sir. So,
Hi, hi. Good to be here.
Mr. Ahmed is a co-founder and CEO of GoZoop, a biggest and the largest digital marketing company in India. He is a visionary, and that's why even after starting GoZoop, he started his next startup, that is Spark Next, which is a VC firm which allows new entrepreneurs to build their firm and also to promote their products. He also helps them in their investment purposes. Apart from that, he is advisor and consultant to the CEOs and CMOs of many leading firms. Apart from all of these, I think he has got a very wonderful achievement. That is, he was chosen, or say he was nominated as the Champions of Change by Niti Aayog. Coming over, I think his experience with GoZoop is one of the fantastic thing that he has ever gone through, and I think we have a lot to learn from his experiences, which he titles it as "When going gets tough, the tough gets innovative." And before allowing him to talk, I think I should better show you again his advertisement with Dell. So after that, I think our guest speaker will follow on. So here I go.
What do you do when you have a good idea in today's booming startup culture? You innovate, integrate, make it relevant, and then you do what it takes to make it happen. But things don't happen when you sit back and wait for that right moment. You need to go out and make your moment. Treat every opportunity like it's the only one you have ever got. Make a great first impression and forget the downtime. Because once you're started, there's no time to stop and recharge. And when you hit the spot, it's time to make it big. That's how you take a good idea and turn it into a great business venture. I'm Ahmed Aftaf Naqvi, the co-founder and CEO of GoZoop, and I innovate, integrate, and execute my business ideas on my Dell XPS 13, powered by 7th Gen Intel Core processors.
So here is all. So I would like to invite Mr. Ahmed to speak on his experiences. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, everyone, for having me here. Thank you. I am Visakhapatnam to organize this session. What I'd love to start by saying that all of you see all these fancy things. You know that today we manage some of the world's best brands, be it Bisleri, be it Taj Hotels, be it Amante, be it Dell Computers, and all these global giants. You also see all the awards that GoZoop has won. You know, you see that GoZoop has been voted as one of the best places to work for the past 5 years in the media advertising industry. But behind all these fancy things, behind all these wins, there is a lot of unfancy things. There's a lot of hard work. There's a lot of sweat. There's a lot of blood. There is a lot of heartbreaks. And at a lot of time, these heartbreaks, this tough stuff, which is not fancy, which is very raw, does not come out in the limelight. And this is the important stuff, right? Because if you guys are looking to be entrepreneurs of tomorrow, then it's very important for you guys to know that it's not always roses and sunshine. There's a lot of thorns along the way. There are a lot of challenges along the way. And what kind of these challenges that an entrepreneur really come across? and what are some of the challenges that we have come across. So today I'll take this opportunity to share with you guys some of my learnings, some of my experiences, a little bit of my story, because it ties back to current times as well, times of crisis. And then I'll just open it up for you guys to ask me questions. So keep your questions prepared. I'm also going to be asking you some questions. So this is not going to be a one-way thing. It's going to be a two-way thing. So stay prepared to raise your hands and to type in those chat boxes when required. Firstly, I would love to just start by saying that, I was just one of you who was graduating out. And when I did graduate out, I started getting offers, the campus placement, the normal stuff that happens. So I got placed at this company called Oracle iFlex Solutions. And I was there as a coder. I worked there for a bit, but there was this inquisitive bug inside me, which said that, what, have you found your calling? Is it coding that you have to do all your life? Or is it something beyond? And somewhere I wasn't getting that satisfaction. Mind you, we really don't come from a family of previous business experiences. My family has been in government services. We come from very value-driven but very humble backgrounds. My family has been in either government services or sports. So no one had actually taken this plunge towards entrepreneurship. So there was something in me which said that, you have to do something beyond. But possibly at that time, I was lacking a bit of conviction to go around. So what I did is I took up another job in a completely different stream, which was finance at JP Morgan. And I said, I've tried technology. Let me try a little bit of finance. And when I say little bit, my experiments were not more than 4 months, whether it was at Oracle, whether it was at JP Morgan. And my conviction soon turned into a decisive decision. And I said, I may not have an idea right now, but I know for sure that I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to do something on my own. And as they say, at times you have to just jump from the cliff and learn to fly along the way. And that is exactly what happened. So me and my partner, more than a partner, a dear friend, Rohan, we started writing a bunch of ideas on a small book, and we said, and we'd come up with different ideas. And while we were coming up with these ideas, we got some opportunity to work with some founders to build their organization. One such founder was the owner of a donut chain, which today is known as Mad Over Donuts. Okay. And we started helping, whether it was Mad Over Donuts, whether it was Snapdeal, which was one of our first clients. And we soon realized that we are not half bad at it. And we said, we can really, really use what we are good at and what makes us happy to create profits and something that can also add value to other people's life. And that's how we really started Gozoop. So it was, as I say, it was part accident, part conviction that made us take the road less traveled. And over the past 12, 13 years, we have built Gozoop into one of India's largest and arguably one of the leading advertising companies, which is known for work, for example, building iconic brands like Mumbai Indians or Kolkata Knight Riders on digital, or doing campaigns like No Place Like Home for Asian Paints, or some of the cool work that you see that Bisleri today is doing on digital and advertising. So behind all this, now I'm going to talk about all the hard stuff, all the dirty stuff, all the tough stuff that doesn't get spoken about. But before I come to do that, I want to talk about today's times. When on everyone's lips, there is this word called unprecedented. Okay. But along with it, a lot of people are not today talking about innovation as much as they should be talking about. Your word crisis. Okay. The word crisis actually in Chinese is known as Weiji. 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 And Weiji in Chinese means it's a combination of two words. It means danger on one end, but it also means opportunity on the other end. Danger and opportunity. And that is exactly what happens in times of crisis. There is a lot of unpredictability. There is a lot of stress. There is a lot of danger. We are seeing job cuts happening. We are seeing companies shutting down. We are seeing furloughs happening. But in all this distress, there is a great opportunity for creativity, for bouncing back, for innovation. When the financial downturn of 2008 happened, I remember that is the time when GoZoop was born. And today I feel that this crisis that is there in front of us should give rise to a lot of startups. Okay, there's this old age saying which says innovate or die, and it is so true in today's times. Whether it is for large organization or whether it is for emerging entrepreneurs like you guys who can possibly take this time constructively and come up with some disruptive ideas. And what I'm saying is not just by experience, but history tells us the same thing. There is this thing called the black swan events, and these are events of great distress, great disruption. Whether it is global pandemics, whether it's financial crisis, whether it is wars, that really unsettle and uproot things. They change the way we do things. They change government, they change economies. And in each of these black swan events, guys, there has been immense amount of innovation that has taken mankind ahead. So whether you talk about the First World War, in the First World War, it gave rise to the innovation which today we call as wristwatch. So the wristwatch was innovated at that time to help the soldiers coordinate better. And so was the blood bank. So blood bank was a necessity which came across during the First World War. If you go a bit, behind that, during the long depression in the United States in the 19th century, it gave rise to the invention of the light bulb, the steam turbine, and also the radio. And if you talk about the Great Depression of the 1930s, it gave rise to the ballpoint pen, the tape recorder, and even the first helicopter. More recently, if you talk about the SARS pandemic, which happened in China, because people started social distancing, and started ordering more from home, it gave the great boost to Alibaba to make it the unicorn that we all know today. Or whether it is in 2008, beyond GoZoop, where GoZoop was one of the companies that started in the 2008 depression, there was also companies like Facebook. There were also companies like Airbnb and Uber, which started working because there was a lot of need for collaboration and wealth protection, especially by the millennials which were hurt, right? So I feel all these times of great uncertainty give rise to great innovation. And this Corona COVID-19 pandemic should be no different. Okay, so that's the first thing. So if you guys are already not thinking of great ideas, you don't have time. While you are not thinking of ideas, there are many who are thinking, and they will give rise to the unicorns of tomorrow. So don't be left behind. Okay, now I'll revisit myself just a bit to 2008. And ever since 2008 till today, which is past 12 years, whenever I've come up with an interesting learning, wherever I've failed, or whenever I've discovered something new, I've penned this down in this diary that I have maintained over the years. And today what I'll do is I'll open this diary up for you guys, and I'll try to share some of my learnings, obviously not all of them today in this webinar, but definitely some of them. And if you're smart enough, then you'll ask me the smart questions, which will lay out more tips and hacks for you guys. Okay, but definitely some of them. And I'll start with the first one. Okay, and the first one is that always remember that you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. If I had not put in my papers at JP Morgan, today GoZoop would have not existed. So every single time that you don't take action, there is a missed opportunity. I'll give another example of this. One fine day, I wasn't keeping that well, and I was just in my bed reading the newspaper. And in the newspaper, I read that there is this stalwart of the media advertising industry. In fact, the guy who gave rise to the media advertising industry Sir Martin Sorrell. He's in India and he's going to be speaking at a summit. I said, how does it harm my chances? Let me see if I can drop him a simple email. And I didn't even have his email. I guessed a couple of combinations. One of them clicked. And within 10 minutes, I got a reply where he said, why don't you join me for coffee? And that coffee was one of the most memorable coffees that I've had in my life, where, he was very interested to know how we have built Gozoop. He complimented us on building a great organization. And some of the tips that he gave me in that meeting have been valuable through me for my journey, right? All this would have not happened if I had not taken that courage and dropped in that email. Okay. Drop in that email. When you're, sitting in a plane or when you're traveling by train, speak to the person next to you. Take that initiative. There might be some good that may come out of it. Some of my closest clients today have been people that I've met at an airplane. Okay. So remember, you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. Also, somewhere in 2010, I read about this competition that was happening in Silicon Valley for emerging startups. And at that time, it was far removed. We were trying to make our ends meet, trying to make new business happen, try to build a team. But I said, okay, fine, let me see if I want to drop them an email and to see if they would be interested in taking an entry from an Indian startup. Before I knew it, I got a reply back. They invited us to Silicon Valley. They put us up in an incubator called DocPash Labs, where the co-participant was in fact Instagram, where Instagram was building their startup. And after that, they gave us an audience with some of the biggest VCs in the Silicon Valley. Those experiences have been etched in my memory, and they have really helped us build as stronger entrepreneurs. All this would have not happened had I not taken that initiative to send a simple email. At times, we really ignore the power of a simple email, of taking that initiative. Sometimes thinking that, what will people think about us? They'll think we're stupid. They'll think we're crazy. Okay. There's no harm. Sometimes it's okay to be thought of as a crazy person, but go ahead and take that initiative. But while you're making your moves, remember, you have to move fast. At the same time, you don't have to have haste. Haste is your enemy. Don't do things in a rush. Sometimes people confuse fast with rush. Rush can be a thing that can be your downfall. So don't be hasteful. Okay. And I always say that take small steps. Stay lean, but think big. And when I say stay lean, it does not mean that you think you be frugal about things. It just means that you be less wasteful. You don't waste things. When you're starting your startup, you have limited money, you have limited time, you have limited resources, you have the world pit against you. Okay. At those times, you cannot take a risk, which if you do not succeed, you will die. You have to take small calibrated risk that even if you fail, you're able to bounce back and you're able to continue your journey. As they say that ideas should fail, projects should fail, but people and your will should never fail. So that's how you should approach that's the kind of mindset you should have. And to know a bit more about this mindset, I'll say there is this amazing book called Good to Great by Jim Collins, in which he talks about this principle called fire bullets and then cannonballs. What does this mean? What does it mean to say fire small bullets and then fire a big cannonball? Just visualize yourself, that you're on a ship and you're somewhere along the coast of Africa. Okay. On your ship, you have around 5 to 10 bullets with you, small bullets you have. And you have only one big cannonball. And suddenly you see a pirate ship approaching you. Okay, the pirate ship, that if they reach you, they'll jump on your ship and they'll kill you. This is a matter of life and death. This is a matter of survival, just like it is for startups every single day. Now you could do two things. One thing that you could do is, you can be very adventurous, you can be very brave, you can be very bold, and you say that I know everything, and you just load up your cannonball and try to shoot that ship which is coming, the pirate ship. High chances are that on the first attempt, you'll miss that pirate ship. And if you miss that pirate ship, the bullets will not do you any good. The pirate ship will come on board and they will kill you. Your startup will get killed. The other approach is that first you take one bullet and you shoot at the ship. The ship will not sink, but you'll see if you're hitting that ship or no. And if you miss, then recalibrate your line of sight. Shoot again. If you miss, recalibrate. Shoot again. And the moment you hit that ship with a small bullet, waste no time in putting the cannonball and destroying that ship. That is how great startups win. You keep on taking small steps which do not kill you if you fail. But the moment you get a winning combination, waste no time in scaling up and becoming big. And that's a principle that we have taken, and that has really helped us. Because if you don't take risk, and at times they say that you go ahead, you take the risk. And that's so true, because if you don't take risk in life, everything is a risk. And not doing anything is also a risk. For example, you are sitting on that pirate ship and you're not shooting the bullet or the cannonball, you'll still get killed. So not doing anything is sometimes the biggest risk. So don't do that. Be active, take risks, be bold, be brave, but also be smart, be agile, be adaptive, be planned. Okay. So that's how you should be thinking. And most times, why don't we take such steps? We don't take such steps because as entrepreneurs or emerging entrepreneurs, we are scared. We are scared as to what will happen if we fail. We don't have anything behind us. What will people think? Will they clap at us? Will they slap us? What I would say is that don't be afraid at times of the slaps. Okay, it's okay. You as a person will not fail. Your idea would fail. You will come back stronger. I don't need to tell you how many entrepreneurs have failed in their first venture, but they've come back to build the unicorns of today. Okay, so have faith. Okay, and don't shy away from taking risk. But while you're taking risk, and as I say that, don't be too worried even about the claps. Sometimes you're doing all these things just for recognition, just for fame. Don't make that mistake. Okay, don't worry about the claps or the slaps when you're building your startup. Possibly I'll share some more things with you. Let me see what I can share. Yes, I think this is a great example. In 2010, 2011, while we were a small digital marketing company in India, there was a lot of competition. And at that time we said, what can we do to really outsmart the competition, outthink the competition? And one thing that we did is that we said, what? We just don't want to be in India. We want to take our company to other countries as well. So we took it to Middle East, we took it to New York, we took it to Singapore. And guess what happened? When we entered Middle East in 2010, the dirham was around 11. And today it's around 20. So we really made hay while the sun was shining over there. And that only happened because we were doing things which our competition at that time wasn't doing. And after we started doing it, a lot of people copied. But by that time, we had the first movers advantage. Always remember that in today's world, today's digitally connected world, where everyone knows what is happening, you can Google things, you can find out things. Also, when it comes to ideas, don't ever be in this impression that the idea you have, no one else has it. As a thumb rule, remember that each idea that you have right now, at least 15 other people in the world are thinking about the same idea. What matters really is not just idea, but also how you execute that. Okay. So in today's time, when you say that execution is important, what else is important? Being fast is important. Okay. Being fast is possibly one of the biggest competitive advantage that you can give yourself. If you have an idea, act quick on it. Do it before others are doing it and do it well. That is what is going to take you ahead in times to come. Okay. So one thing that I spoke about is outthinking our competitors. What else did we do to outthink our competitors? Most of my today as GoZoop, we are one of India's largest independent marketing company. When I say independent, it means that we are Indian owned. We are not owned by a US company or a UK company or a Japanese company which is there, which most of the other companies have become acquired and do. We really value our independence and we have stayed independent. That is why we have grown so strong. But while staying independent, we are the ones who acquired other companies. Okay, and we figured out what it takes to acquire a company. In fact, our first acquisition was this company called Red Digital, which was a digital arm, the services part of Dream 11. And once we acquired it, we realized that how we can actually combine two cultures and make 1 + 1 not equal to 2, but 1 + 1 equal to 11. So we did things which were very different, which were really out of the box. And I would really encourage that, if you're thinking of an idea or if you've already built your startup, think out of the box. While you're thinking out of the box, one thing should never go unnoticed. There is no substitute to hard work. They say the harder you work, the luckier you get. And that is so true. Okay, but by just sitting on your idea, you're not going to go very far. You have to work hard. All right. And while you're working hard, there will be challenges. There will be ups and downs. You'll fall down 7 times. As Mike Tyson said that, reality and startup is what happens to you when you get punched in your face. And you will get punched in your face. But every time you get punched in your face, you have to get up. You have to bounce back. You have to be persistent. You don't have to give up. And now a lot of you will ask, what does it take to be persistent? How can we stay persistent in the face of adversaries? How there are things which break you down. There have been things which were so disastrous while building our startup journey that very easily we could have got crumbled. Why did GoZoop did not get crumbled where some of our competitors got crumbled and got acquired by other companies? The answer is you have to have a very strong reason to build your startup. A very, very strong reason. And at times you say that what is the why to build your startup? And I'll give you some pointers. I cannot craft your why. I cannot craft your reason. But I'll give you some pointers which will help you craft your why. And I call it the 3 P's: profit, passion, and purpose. Firstly, do something that will at least help you stay afloat. Okay. Come up with an idea that will make you money. An idea that doesn't make you money will never become a sustainable business. So don't fall prey to that. There are a lot of ideas, but you cannot build a sustainable business model around it. So think hard whenever you have an idea. The idea may sound very cool and very fancy, but is it something that will have the right unit economics? Is it something that has enough of a problem for you to fix? As they say, don't fix what ain't broke. It's very true while you're building a startup. All right. So make sure that whatever you're building has the basis of a fundamentally strong business model, something around which profits can come in. It may be small in the start, but they can surely scale up in times to come. So that's the first P, profits. The second P is passion. Okay. In the long run, if you're really not enjoying, money is not going to make you enjoy it. You have to really feel it in your heart. You have to do things that make you happy. You have to be passionate about it. You have to be good at it. So make sure that whatever you're building is not just an idea which is meeting a kind of requirement in the market, but that idea, while doing that idea, you'll have a great time doing it. That is very important. Are you going to have a great time doing it? Are you passionate about it? Does it give you sleepless nights? If the answer is yes, possibly you're passionate about it. So make sure that you're really passionate about what you're doing. And the third thing is that beyond the profit, beyond the passion, there has to be a purpose. You always don't do it just for yourself. Do it to change the way things are done. Do it to build something which makes people's life better. Do it for humanity. Okay? Because once you have a purpose, it's like a ship. It's like a ship. If you have a great purpose, and when the winds are windy and you're going in this ship, the purpose is what is going to take you through. And in the good times, it will really accelerate it. And in the bad times, it will make sure that you don't give up on your startup. your purpose. So profits, passion, purpose. And when profits, passion, purpose combine, you know that you have a winning idea. Don't make the mistake of not pursuing it. Make no mistake, no matter what you're doing, whether you're, I won't encourage you because this is an official college webinar to drop out from college. But you know my intention. My intention is that if you have profits, passion, purpose in your idea, don't waste time. Okay, moonlight while you're studying, moonlight while you're working, but don't give up on that dream. Pursue it. Okay, your future self will thank you for it. Okay, and when you talk about purpose, now just let me give you an example of what purpose is all about. And purpose is not just for the entrepreneur, but your purpose should be so amazing that when you build a great company, every single member of your team is aligned to that purpose. You know, they are not coming to your company because they're getting money, because anyone will give them the money. You have to build such a purpose which unites everyone in your team to a common goal, to a common purpose, which makes them wake up in the morning and come to work. Okay, I'll give an example. You know, John F. Kennedy, the former president of United States, once he visited the NASA facility, and he met a lot of scientists, and they were telling him about what they are building and how they are building. Okay, and then he happened to go to the restroom, and while he was in the restroom, there was a janitor in a bright pink color janitor suit. He was there mopping the floor, and John F. Kennedy asked him, "What do you do?" You know what he replied? He said, "I'm putting a man on the moon." No work was less for him. He was just cleaning the bathroom. But he believed that by doing and contributing to NASA's objective, he's helping put a man on the moon. That is what a great purpose is. That is what unites people. That is what gets the best out of people. Okay, so make sure that you have a strong enough purpose which will make sure that even in the bad times, the tough times, the time when you don't have enough money, the times where things are not going your way, you still are holding on to that idea that you started with, and you're pursuing it. You're persevering with it. Because if you persevere long enough, make no mistake, you will be successful. So that's a learning that it's always stuck with me. I always follow it, and I'll encourage you guys to follow. And while you guys are following it, there's one more thing I would like to tell you. Don't forget to invest in yourself. Don't forget to reinvent yourself. Okay, learning should not stop. When GoZoop started in 2008, we just started with UI UX as our service offering. Very soon we added social media. Very soon we added SEO. Very soon we added online reputation management. By 2013, we were a full service digital marketing company. By 2015, we started adding more creative and strategy departments to our company. And by 2015, we became a full-fledged 360-degree integrated marketing company. That only happened because we had the hunger to keep on learning, to keep on not settling for less, to keep on raising the bar, okay, and keep on reinventing ourselves. Because if we did not reinvent ourselves that time, we would have been dead today. Today, a lot of brands, okay, are going on digital. Everyone is talking about digital. So the mainline agencies, the traditional agencies, their work is being threatened today. No one today wants to come up with a print ad and an outdoor ad because no one is going out. What are they going to see? Everyone wants to do their marketing on digital. So today it gives me great advantage that I know everything in digital. But it also gives me advantage because some brands are saying, you know what, I may want to do little bit of mainline advertising 2 months, 3 months from today. So do you guys know mainline advertising? Yes, we know, and we are damn good at it. Because we did campaigns like No Place Like Home for Asian Paints. We did campaigns for like Army KKR for Kolkata Knight Riders. Okay, and we did all these things starting from 2015, while we realized that we have to also add mainline capabilities to our entire suite of digital capabilities. And today we are seeing the benefit of it. So today brands are coming to me and saying, you know what, I don't want to work with my mainline agency. You give me mainline plus you guys are super good at digital. Give me digital because I want digital. It would have not happened if we had not invested in ourselves to learn such aspects of marketing. Okay, so while you invest and reinvent your company, also build your own personal capabilities and experiences. Okay, Today, the first meeting that you have with any person will be on digital. So what happens when someone is Googling you? What is coming? Are they getting a good first impression? Ask yourself this question. Start investing in your personal brand, because the benefits of it you'll see in times to come. Okay. But while you're doing all this, don't make the mistake of trying to showcase something which you're not. Be who you are. There is nothing which people want more than authenticity. Be authentic, be real. That is what people really crave. And that is what will really help you build a strong equity in the market. Another thing which helps you build a strong equity in the market is to do what you say, to keep your promises. If you say something, make sure that it happens. All right. And never back down from it. While you're a 1-member team, or you're a 300-member team, or you become tomorrow 5,000-member team, always remember that there is a great advantage in building a solid culture of your organization. You know, you would have heard me say at a lot of places that there is a bottom line to my bottom line, and that is building a great culture for my startup. That's so true. You know, in tough times, culture is that sponge which helps you bounce back, and in good times it will really amplify your growth. Okay. How do you build a great culture? Why is today GoZoop known as the best, one of the best places in India to work for, and certainly in the media advertising industry, the #1 for the past 5 years? That's because we have started investing in a culture while we were in a small garage. You know, we had very humble beginnings. We started from a small garage, my dad's garage, with just one laptop, 2 friends in a garage, and we started it. But even at that time, we said, you know what? We'll keep a great culture, okay? And we'll never compromise on it. We'll always make sure that we are transparent to our team members. We'll always make sure that we are approachable. We'll always make sure that there is good communication happening. We'll always make sure that if we say something, we stick to it, no matter what it is. We don't back out on our words, okay? Whether it was while we were in a small garage, while it is in a huge office that we are in today, managing some of the world's best brands, that culture essence has not changed. Our values have not changed. Our ethics, what we think is right and what we think is wrong, that has not changed. Money, fame, awards, it should not change your values ever. And I'll give some examples of it. You know, this is while we were a very small company, okay? And at that time, there was one of our clients which used to spend, close to around 50 lakhs a month with us. And when we were a small company at that time, this is around 8 years or 9 years back, that was a lot of money per month spending, a brand spending with you. One day we realized that there has been some mistake at our end because of a human error of a team member. While the money was being burned and the results were even coming from him, there was some unused money of his which was lying in our bank account. And no one saw that. As soon as we picked it up, because we do a lot of audits every 3 months or so, we picked this up and we said, you know what, now how will the client think if we have to say that there's still money lying in our account which is actually not ours, which is yours? We said it does not matter. We'll go and tell him. He was a bit angry, but he appreciated that we were honest and we did what was right. Today, he's still our client and he's one of our biggest clients. So do always what is right, not what is easy, not what is convenient, not what makes you money that time, but something that allows you to have a good sleep in the night. Always stick to it. Never, ever compromise on your values. They are the ones that will see you through in the long run. Those are the things that people will remember you for. Okay. So remember never to compromise on your values. Now I'm going to speak and I want some interaction. You know, I've been talking with you guys for some time. Okay. I want you guys to tell me a bit. Do you guys know about the story of the hare and the tortoise? Hare and tortoise, all of you know the story? Raise your hands. I want some interaction, guys. This is not going to be a monologue.
So I think, yeah,
okay,
11
a lot of hands here. Some of you, can you tell me what is the moral of the story? Can you just put in the chat? What was the moral of the story? slow and steady wins the race. We all know that. But I'll tell you what happened after that race. There is something, अभी अब पिक्चर अभी बाकी है, ये स्टोरी अभी बाकी है, ये स्टोरी में और बहुत कुछ होता है जिससे आप सब सीखेंगे. So let me tell you what really happens. Okay. It's not just about being slow and steady, but the next time that they raced and the hare realized that he was sleeping and he was slow, as Sagar has mentioned, that you have to be fast and consistent, because the next time the race happened, the hare made no mistake to be fast and to be consistent to meet the finish line. And you know what happened after this race? After the race, the tortoise got smarter and he said, you know what, now I'm going to change the course. So the tortoise changed the course of this race, and near the finish line, he made sure that the finish line is after a water, after a riverbed. So there was a river and then there was a finish line. So now in the third race, what suddenly happened, that while the tortoise was fast and consistent and he reached the edge of the river, he realized that the finish line is on the other side. How is he supposed to cross the water? And the tortoise is coming slow and steady, and he came to the river bank and then he swam and he crossed over and he won the race. So you adapt. But while you're adapting, you don't forget your core competencies, what you're really good at. Tortoise realized that he's really good at swimming, which the hare is not, and he changed the course. So see what you're good at. There are possibly places which your competitors are not good at. So reinvent yourself, think on your feet, and figure out what you could do. And this is not just for startups, but even in your work environment. Okay, some of you will become entrepreneurs. Some of you will join companies. If you're really good at something, figure out opportunities where you can highlight that. If you're really good at presenting, if you're really good at making presentations, figure out where you can get that opportunity to show everyone in the organization how good you are. If you're great at analyzing data, figure out how you can analyze something and present it to the larger team. Don't be shy. Don't back out. Don't think that you'll make a fool of yourself. Have that risk appetite and do it. But while we're talking about the story, there's one more twist to the story. After the tortoise won this race, the hare and tortoise started becoming friends. And they soon realized that if they work together, they can even reach the finish line faster without breaking a sweat. So till the riverbed, the hare used to pick up the tortoise and come, and to cross the water, the tortoise put the hare on his back. So as you know, I am saying right now, synergies, collaboration, and collaboration in these times. We're all working from home today, and we are collaborating seamlessly with our team members. That will only happen when there is mutual respect. That will only happen when you understand each other. That will only happen when you build a great culture. So collaborate with your co-workers, and the benefit and the value of it will grow exponentially and not linearly. Let me see if I can share something more with you guys. In fact, there's another story which is there, which is a funny one, but it's also important. It's a gentle reminder that all of us should have every now and then. There have been many companies who have come and said that, you know what, Guzoop, you're doing so well. We want to acquire you. We want to take over you. Okay, we have said no, because we really believe in our journey. We believe what idea we have. Okay. Also, there has been times where possibly we have made a mistake, or there has been a crisis. Okay, it happens. It happens. It happens in every single company. It will happen in every single organization. And at that time, it's important to correct it and not to make too much noise around it. So I remember this story where there was this small little chirpy bird, which was going in a very wintry, very cold weather. And this bird became frozen because of the cold weather, and it fell to the ground. Frozen, fell to the ground. While it fell to the ground, it was almost dead. It could do nothing. And there will be times where you will be dead as a company, as an organization, when you're at the lowest ebb. But soon what happened is there was a cow passing by, and the cow actually, put some dung on it. All right. And the dung was warm, okay, which melted this ice. And when the ice got melted, the bird started chirping again. While the bird was chirping, and it was feeling warm in that dung, there was a cat which came, took up the bird and ate it up. What do we learn from this? We learn that not everyone who shits on you is your enemy. Remember that. There'll be a lot of competition for the startup in the industry, but everyone is not your enemy. Competition is healthy. You should encourage competition. Also, you learn from this that not everyone who gets you out of the shit is your friend, as Sanyalis mentioned over here, right? So never short sell your ideas, believe in yourself, and continue on that journey. Okay, while we're talking about all these things, I also want to share something with you which is very, very close to my heart. Okay, and this is one poem which has really, really helped me stay steady. And I've learned so much for it in my entrepreneurial journey, and I'm sure you guys will benefit from it as well. Okay, and let me just quickly share a few lines from this. It's so beautifully written. Is this poem called If by Rudyard Kipling. Have you guys heard this before? Raise your hands. Yeah. I'll just say a few words from this, and I'll just try to tell you guys the meaning as well. One of the line reads, if you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you. Such a simple line, such a profound message. There will be a lot of times when you're right, but a lot of people will blame you. There'll be a lot of times when there'll be a lot of stress. There'll be a lot of turmoil around you. People will be totally manic around you. In those times, can you stay calm? Okay. Can you keep your head? Because when you're not calm, when you're hot-headed, at that time, you will never be able to find a good solution. And I can say that with so much authority, because I had a near-death experience. And I would have not been here today if I had not possibly remembered these lines from this poem. So somewhere around 2008, just before we started the company, I had earned little bit money from my stint at JP Morgan and Oracle. And I said, you know what, I'm going to travel around the world and to figure out a great idea. I'll get creative inspiration from, just wandering around in the world. And I went to this place called Oman, because Oman is really known for diving. And recently I learned how to dive and how to do scuba diving. So I went to Oman and I took the help of Google Map to figure out what is one of the best diving spots in Oman. And there was this diving spot called the Damaniat Islands. And I said, you know what, I have to go there and try it out. I have to see what it is. So I said, okay, fine. I took a taxi. I reached a point. I rented some of the scuba gear. But what I saw over there, that wasn't a tourist season. So there was no one in that spot. All I saw was there was a fisherman over there. And I said, you know what, I started trying to communicate a little bit because he did not really understand English. And I told him and I showed him certain things where I have to go. And he said, you know what, he's willing to take me to that spot for 10 riyals in his boat. And he had a very normal boat. It wasn't even a motorboat. It was a boat with the rows over there. So I said, okay, fine, let us see what happens. So I hopped into that boat. And, he was rowing for around 20-25 odd minutes. And we were very far away from the shore. We did not know where the shore was now. And there was this small rock in the middle of the ocean. And he said, this is the spot. So I said, okay, fine, we have reached here. I put on my scuba gear. I dived right in. And when I dived, I saw some of the most stunning wildlife. And I was really enjoying it. I dived for around half an hour, 45 minutes. I came up I put the gear, and then I was just in my trunk, and I dived back in the ocean thinking, you know what, I'm going to float and I'm going to think about great ideas. While I was floating and I was feeling good about the warm water, in 10 minutes, when I looked up, I could not see the boat. I could not see the rock. I did not know which side was Oman and which side was India. I was in the middle of the ocean, lost. That warm water which was coming was actually a warm water current. So what really happened is, what did I do? Can you guys guess what did I do after that? Come on. I said the answer before I shared the story. Yeah, go ahead. And that was quite frightening. That was quite frightening because if I started swimming in the wrong direction, maybe I started swimming towards India and I would have never reached. Flow with the current, compass, no, poem little bit was there in subconsciously in the head. I didn't start saying the poem, of course. Exactly, I remained steady. I stayed calm. I did not do anything. I waited there. I conserved my energy. I remained afloat. And within 30 minutes, there was a helicopter and there was a motorboat which came and rescued me. Okay. So in times of great turmoil, see how you can stay calm, because sometimes a solution comes by just staying calm. I'll say a few more lines which have really touched me. Okay. And this line from the poem If is also very important. It says, if you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make thoughts your aim, if you can meet triumph and disaster and treat those two imposters just the same. What does this mean? This means that you should definitely dream. You should dream big, think big, but also be in touch with reality. Okay, you should be connected. And while you're chasing these dreams, just don't make that your aim. Your dreams are great, but it's not only about your destination. It is about the journey as well. All right. Think calmly, stay calm, okay, and not be misled. If you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two imposters just the same, there'll be a lot of failure, there'll be a lot of success. In times of success, don't think that you have conquered Mount Everest. Stay calm, stay grounded. And in times when you have met with a disaster, don't berate yourself. Don't put yourself down too much. It's okay. Failures happen. Everyone fails. You will bounce back. Okay. So have that attitude. And just two more lines from it. A line which says, if you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings, nor lose the common touch. So important. You know, you will start with your entrepreneurial journey, or you'll start with your corporate careers, and you will become successful. And when you become successful, don't forget to be humble. Stay humble, stay rooted. You know, whether you're talking to the Prime Minister of India, or whether you're talking to someone who's not so successful, don't be arrogant. Be humble, stay humble. That will help you in the long run. And while we're talking about all these things, while we have given you a lot of tips on how to be successful, how to start a great business, how to run it, remember that health and relationships are most important. If you achieve the most amount of success, if you achieve the most amount of money, but you don't have health or relationships to enjoy that, this money will not do you any good. Okay. So remember that while destination is important, what is more important is how you enjoy this journey, how you have a great time doing it. Okay. Don't forget to ignore your health. It's a marathon and not a sprint. Okay. Take it as a marathon. Okay. There will be girdles. You'll have to jump sometime. You'll have to conserve energy sometime. You'll have to speed up sometime, but you don't have to get distraught doing it. Okay. So remember that, be kind to others, be kind to yourself, sleep well, get good sleep, and drink plenty of water. Don't forget to do that. I think those are some of the things that I feel that will help you guys stay strong and become successful entrepreneurs of tomorrow. I would love to hear some of your thoughts, some of your questions, and share my perspective on it. So if anyone has questions, would love to answer them.
Yeah, so that was a really good end. I think people loved it the most. While there are many doubts also, so I think we should start with Darshan. So he just wants to ask for a suggestion. Like for every idea, there are two aspects of it. That is managerial and technical. How feasible is it to go ahead with the managerial expertise and lack of technical knowledge? If we decide to go ahead, then how to build on that idea when there is a dearth of equity to invest in hiring technical expertise? So how do you go about
See,
this?
my experience has been that to start a good thing, all right, the initial traction that you can get, the first 50 customers, the first 100 clients, at that time, okay, whether you're great technically or whether you're great in terms of operations, you should not think of yourself as any less. You should first start it. But as your startups take some kind of a maturity, as you go ahead in your phase, only being technical or only being managerial will not help you. You have to have a great combination of that. Which does not mean that you have to have all the capabilities. Okay, either you should get a good co-founder. I've seen so many great technical co-founders who have a great idea, but they said, you know what, operation kuch nahi hai. Technical is the only thing. And I've seen their startups fail. On the other hand, there have been so many operational guys which have a great idea and they have not done justice to it technically, which have failed. So great combination to start off with and to get initial traction, it's okay. But to really scale up and to become a winner, you need a great combination. So get a good co-founder. And getting a good co-founder is not easy. Getting a good co-founder is like finding your marriage partner. You guys are in a marriage together, all right. It's no longer dating which you can get out of it anytime. Okay, it's a long-term commitment. So make sure that you spend enough time, you don't rush into getting a good co-founder. I was really lucky to get a good co-founder, which today more than my partner is my friend. Okay, figure out how. And I've noticed that, friendpreneurship, and I call it friend entrepreneurship. Friendpreneurship is a great way to do it. If you have good friends, even if they're 8 on 10 or 7 on 10 on skills, is better than getting a co-founder who's 9 on 10, who will not be with you when the times are bad. Okay, so either get a good co-founder, or with your initial traction, go to investors and say, you know what, I've got this initial traction. Imagine what I can do if you give me some money. And with that money, hire a solid technical guy or a managerial guy. And a lot of successful entrepreneurs have done that. So use either of these two things. Okay. If you're not getting initial traction, then get a co-founder. If you're getting initial traction, then get some money and hire a team. Get a CEO if you're a technical CTO. Okay. There's no embarrassment in getting a CEO, even if you're the CTO and even if you're the founder. Go ahead and do that. Okay. I think Akshay has one question here. What are the areas in which this pandemic has opened up business opportunities, and how long this is going to last, till pandemic or beyond? Great. As I said, this is a time where a lot of opportunities have come in. Some of the people who have come to us to help them start businesses, we are seeing more inquiries right now than we were seeing before the pandemic time. Definitely places where it is concerned, a startup is around health, hygiene, personal care, okay, which is related to safety, healthcare, places where remote working, places of using digital to collaborate effectively, places where we are seeing e-commerce. Okay, these are all great places of opportunity which have come in. Also, all businesses that you see today, can you put a lens and say that how can this business be run digital only or digital first? And if you start answering that question, you'll possibly come up with a great idea. Nutraceuticals, okay, health is going to be so important. Preventive measures are going to become more and more important, right? So all these industries are going to go see a huge boom. Okay, and I see that how long is this going to last? See, the consumer behavior is changing, and people are adjusting to the new normal. Things are not going to be the same when the lockdown has been lifted. People are going to be more digital savvy. Okay, people are going to consume more OTT. In fact, OTT entertainment consumption is going to be huge, right? So how can you build a startup around that? Because this digital behavior is changed now. People are going to go digital first, digital only. Combine with it the digital penetration and the digital adoption in India by the end of next year. there are going to be 500 million people who are not English speaking, which are going to be connected to digital. Are you going to take an opportunity of that that is going to be coming in front of you? Okay, the magic what Jio will do with when it combines with Facebook, that is going to open up a lot of possibilities, because it will change the way we do local shopping. So localization, local business, there are a lot of startups which will have opportunity around that. Maybe some of these startups might get acquired by Jio and Facebook combined, okay, to accelerate their journey. So these are great areas for innovation right now. And as I say, this is the time. If you miss this time, this time is not going to come back. Okay, I see some more questions here. Viknesh says, kindly arrange more webinars like this. So I'm sure the moderators here are listening to that. Someone also tells me about the boat guy. Okay, so the boat guy, he tried finding me a lot when I was lost in the ocean. But after he gave up, he was the one who went and actually called for help. Okay, so he was there on the shore, and when I reached the shore, he was there to meet me.
So there is one question by Ashut. That could you please share your thoughts on how to find co-founders for your startup? Also, thanks for 3P. Now get it why it's really important to know it. So he's just asking like how he can find his co-founders for his startup. It's more like entrepreneurship, you said. So what more can you add to it?
Yeah, I'll come back to my analogy there, which says that finding a great co-founder is like finding a marriage partner. How do you find your marriage partner? Okay, there are multiple ways. There's no one way, right? Sometimes your parents come and say, "Beta, ये बड़ा अच्छा रिश्ता है." Okay, you consider it that or you don't consider that. Sometimes you go to your online sites, okay, whether it's a matrimonial site or whether it is your Tinder, and you swipe left and right. You possibly find someone over there, or you ask your friends for recommendations. Okay, so there is no one set way, or possibly you are lucky to find it as your college sweetheart in your college at IIM itself, right? So there could be many ways to find your partner, whether it is business, whether it is life, and there is no set way. For me, I in fact met Rohan, and me were together in Jai Hind, in Jai Hind College, but we never spoke together. We never spoke to each other. We were in the same class, but we never spoke that much. And incidentally, when I was at JP Morgan, he was also at JP Morgan. So we started speaking together more. We started getting comfortable with each other. We were the only two people who were playing darts at JP Morgan all the time. That's how we bonded. Okay, and one thing led to another. So I think having a comfort level is very important. And one thing that you should always look in your co-founder, your holy grail. Okay, he might be a great manager, he might be a great finance guy, a great technical guy, but does he have the same values as you? Is the lens that you should look at. The thing that you think is right, does he also think it is right? Or the thing that you think is wrong, does he also think it is wrong? That is the single most important thing. Okay, because if you guys are aligned with that, there will be at times difference of opinion, but you'll ride through that. But on values, there should never be a difference of opinion. You guys should have the same value.
So I think you have one more in the chat box, Vaishali. Like what is more better, working on your core strengths or working on your weaknesses?
I really feel that to start off with, okay, you have to focus on your core strengths. No mistake about it. Okay, what you're good at now, you have to amplify it, and you have to make sure that the world knows what you're good at. That is how you start, and you have to never lose the pedal on your core strengths. Never lose the sight of it. There'll be a lot of tiny shiny objects. Okay, possibly I'm not good at this. Can I learn this? Can I do? But while you're doing all that, while you're focusing on your weaknesses and getting better about it, you have to be 10 on 10 on your core strengths. Because the moment you don't focus on that, someone else will become good on your core strengths. And that is the time you'll become redundant. So keep on bettering your core strengths while silently, fully working on your weaknesses.
So there is one like very controversial question that Vedant wants to ask that is the concept of too big to fail, is it in real or is it just a myth? So like we have seen Oyo, it has become too big, but we still find that it is going to fail and it is going to take Ritesh Agarwal along with it. So what are your views on this?
For me, I would just say if we just look at history, some of the biggest companies, Lehman Brothers, who thought that Lehman Brothers is going to fail? Who thought it failed? And there are millions and millions of examples like that. Who thought that the giants of yesterday will not be even spoken about today? And there are many companies like that. Okay, whether you take some of the companies like which used to make photography films today, all right, and they're not even being spoken about. So there is nothing like too big to fail. Okay, in fact, I would say that if you're small enough to not fail and to kill yourself, you're lucky at certain time. Okay. Anyone can fail, big or small company.
So there is one really very nice question by Nistha that sometimes we have the idea, but it becomes difficult to find the approach. So it happened with her. She was about to like start a business venture, but she didn't know how to do it. Like, what is the right approach? She has the plan and everything, but she does not feel like it is going to sustain.
See, if you feel that it is not going to sustain, it will not sustain.
Reason.
Okay. So the feeling of a great idea should also resonate with your gut, with your instincts. If you think mentally कि ये मतलब it may not happen, it may not work out, then for sure it will not work out. So first be decisive. First say that, no matter what happens, I'm going to make sure that my idea comes to life. And I'll do whatever it takes to make it happen. You think when we started, we had all the capabilities, we had all the money? We didn't. We didn't have any money. We knew 1 million of what we know today. Okay. But you have to say, okay, fine, I don't know it, but I know a little bit to start. I'll build a prototype. The prototype is not the best, or the idea, the first version is not the best, but I'll keep inventing on it. And as I keep inventing on it, I'll keep on upskilling myself. I'll keep on getting better myself. That's how startups come. You have to adopt, you have to evolve. Okay, no one comes with all the answers on day one. What is there, Facebook today, is not what Facebook started with. If you look
Exactly.
at it, right? It started with a very lean model. So everything evolves. When the Airbnb guys started, you know how they started? They had just a form where people could say whether they want to share an apartment, like a Craigslist kind of thing. And they used to get inquiries for it. It wasn't even automated. So once they got an inquiry, they used to look at Craigslist and call up and see if there's a match and then revert back. It wasn't even automated. But once they started seeing that this is working, they didn't waste time to actually invest their money, time, or get people to build the product. That's how you have to approach it. No one comes with all the answers, nor me, nor you.
So I think there is one more question. Like he wants to know your salesman abilities. So his question is like, could you please share how you managed to convince big clients to do business with you initially when you started out?
See, quite honestly, when we started off, and as I said, one thing which is very important is to be real, to be authentic. Real, authentic, and always be hungry to learn more. When I started off, I'll give an example of a client like Meadow Donuts, for example, right? So when we met the founders and we presented ourselves, in those times, the Facebooks and Twitters of the world had just started. And we were very honest to tell them as to what we know and what we don't know. And most of these guys trusted us. They said, you know what, we'll figure out the answers together. You guys seem to be the right guy. You guys seem to be honest guys. You guys seem to be the guys who have good values. And you're hungry and you're smart guys. You guys will crack it. You won't take much time to crack it. So be upfront, even if you are, don't faff. That will not get you sales. Sales and faff, they go opposite. Don't faff. Be real, be authentic. Say what you know. People will see through it. People are smarter. People just don't sign a check by looking at your face. People sign a check by really trusting who you are, by the words that you say. Okay, and the intent which comes out while you say the words. So I would say that we got our initial clients, and at that time a Mado Donut or a Snapdeal weren't the biggest companies. They became bigger, right? And once you are in the game long enough and you work with enough people, automatically you become an expert at that domain. Okay, so you're able to solve problems. You don't need a guide or a manual to look into it or read a book to give answers. You automatically know the answers, and people value that. And that is how today when we go and meet a client, they see through it. They know what we are getting on the table. So become more knowledgeable, be more experienced. That will only come with time. So on day one, you may not win the biggest businesses. It will come with time. Be realistic about it, but stay in the game. Don't run away from the game.
So, we also have one more question. See, the question is very good. Like, it is always important that we should have a unique idea. Like, is it not? It is not the fact that like Diamond Chips as a company, it came up to give a good competition to Lay's, and still it managed to become a 1 crore, like 100 crore company. And now the question that he has put forward is, which is more important, uniqueness of the idea or the passion?
Can you just repeat what of the idea?
Like the person wants to ask that, is it always important that we should have a unique idea to start on, or is it like uniqueness of the idea or the passion? Which of the two you favor the most?
Okay, so I'll answer I'll give a counter question to this question.
Yep.
And I'll say that when you have to make a good pizza, which you really love, do you make it only with tomato sauce or only with cheese and toppings? You make it with both the things. All right. You put the tomato paste, you put the cheese, you put the toppings, and that's how you get a great pizza. Or that's how you get a good biryani when you're making a biryani. Not only if you don't have rice, how you make biryani, right? So uniqueness of your idea is good. Okay. Along with it, being passionate about it, being persistent about it is even more important. Okay. You may have the most unique idea, but you don't have the drive to take it ahead, then how will it really work? Okay, so not just uniqueness but passion, but all the other things that I told you, that those are all the different ingredients of the secret sauce. And when all of them combine, that is where, my friend, you'll become a successful owner.
And I think we can also have some contemporary business ideas like already which are staying in the market, which are existing in the market. Like the one I talked about, the Diamond Chips. It gave a competition to Lay's when the times when Lay's was not supplying its products. So it became a very good company. So I think even the contemporary ideas and working on it with the passion also helps a lot.
No,
I think.
absolutely does. Or you take the example of Balaji chips or Diamond,
Yeah.
right? They've disrupted. But it's not about, they're not just selling chips. They have done things in a different manner. Uniqueness is not just about selling chips for them. Uniqueness was their supply chain. Uniqueness was their pricing point. If they had made just another Lay's, we would have not been talking about it today. So you can look at contemporary ideas, but the way you execute it, there has to be something unique about it. There has to be an unmet need which you're trying to cater to in your business model, in your marketing, in your supply chain, in the way you position yourself. And then only, if you just make a replica of a business, you're not going to go very far. Okay. Even if Ola became a replica of, say, Uber,
Uber.
Ola really Indianized the way, we were using the app. Okay. And it had a lot of features which Uber at that time did not have. Okay. It was more Indian. It was more relatable to me than a Uber. And then Uber also adapted certain things from that. Okay. So you can capture the essence of an idea, but the way you execute it, there has to be something about it that you're capturing. That's what I think. Otherwise, there are also certain ideas like doing an import export business, for example.
Huh.
Just go ahead and you do it, right? But even over there, you have to be smart because there's already a lot of competition. So today, if you want to become an importer or exporter, should you become a face mask or a sanitizer, and which niche you should capture? So there is never, I would say that being unique will not help you accelerate your ideas.
So I think we'll take up last some questions. So the Vani wants to say that in the times of media industry, in these times of media industry, when the content is a major hit, how do you think will be the pathway for the media houses to revive? How much time do you think it will take?
See, content is going to be a huge hit, but when you talk about content, all right, there's a lot of production work which is not able to happen today, right? Because you can't go out and shoot. But there are very innovative ways in which the production houses are innovating. I can say that because we have some of the largest content houses as our clients, whether it's Viacom, whether it is Z, or earlier whether it was Star. These are all clients that we have held. So I say that there'll be a lot of focus on using innovation to create content. Okay, all of you must have seen the short film that Amitabh starred in recently. All shot at home. Amitabh Bachchan short film called Family, all shot at home. Or whether it is an innovative use of animation or virtual effects or using still and 3D to craft content, those are possibly going to become norms. In times after the lockdown is restricted, there will be again production as we know it happening. But what has also happened is a lot of advertising today will shift from the mainline to the digital formats. Till last year, the total spends, what a brand does, only 24% was on digital. After COVID-19, this is going to be 50 to 60%, not less than 50%. A lot of brands will go digital first, digital only. So a lot of publishers, a lot of the media people who are doing their inventory in terms of digital inventory, they'll adopt that. Also, you will see a lot of newspapers, which were smaller newspapers, die out. But a lot of them innovating and going digital only. All right. So there'll be innovation. There'll be a lot of churn. There'll be certain people. It will be the survival of the fittest. There'll be some people who will die out from this.
So I think there is one potential, I can say, potential client question. So he has a venture in an environmental consultancy firm, and for them to target customers are the mining proponents and other corporate business manager. So his question is, not everyone on social media can be my target customer. They can be hardly 10%. So how can digital marketing help us other than personal phone calls, emails?
Can you just repeat what business he's in once more?
He is an environmental consultancy firm.
Okay.
So he's just asking, how can digital marketing help us? Can you suggest?
Correct. Now, see, when we talk about digital marketing, and today the buzzword around digital, everyone wants to do digital marketing. Everyone says that marketing karenge to digital karenge. But people fail to realize that in digital marketing, there are 15 different offerings. Social media, affiliate, SEO, performance marketing, influencer marketing, even in social platforms. What you have to identify that for your business, what is the lowest hanging fruit and which platforms or which service offerings you have to start with. If you're an environmental consultancy, as this gentleman is, I would say that you should not be, for example, on Instagram or Facebook, firstly. All right. If you can do great thought leadership on the benefits of what your company is doing on LinkedIn and create your own thought leadership through a practice called inbound marketing, over a period of time, you can drive sales. You will start off by giving content which is valuable to others. People will read it, share it. Gradually, you will start giving content which only people who have subscribed to you through a freemium or a premium model can start getting through it. Maybe you launch an ebook. You will collect leads. And these leads are all leads which are interested in your thought leadership. So they are more closer to becoming your customers. So possibly you will do that. That is one thing you do. What else can you do? A person, if they require a consultancy, what they'll do, the first thing is they'll go to Google and search. Is your name popping up? Is your Wikipedia page there as a reputed organization? Okay. Or is your personal website coming up? Most of the times we don't think about it enough. Spend time building thought leadership so that it can also impact your SEO. Craft great content. No longer can you fool Google as an algorithm. You have to be genuine. You have to create great content and you have to be persistent with it. Do that. I think that is something that will be really important. And finally, I would say give a lot of importance to your CRM automation. Okay. No longer create an Excel sheet and blasting emails doesn't work anymore. Figure out if you have sent an email, what has been the reaction of the person who received the email. Did he open it? Did he click on it? How much time did he spend? Where did he click? If he did not click, what email can you send? If he did not open, what email can you send? If he clicked, what email should you send? When should you send? There's a science behind that. You should invest your time to understand that. And I think these three things, if you can start off with, you'll definitely find success.
So there is a question by Sagar. So he was in one of national competitions where he had to make prototype. So he's just asking that he is a student, and for making a prototype also, it's like it costs in lakhs, if not in lakhs, then near lakhs. So since we are just students, so how should we go ahead with it?
Now, making prototypes differ from what prototype you have to make, right? And sometimes I feel that a lot of us make the mistake of making a prototype, which is a full-fledged working model, and we call that only a prototype. I have seen instances of great startup entrepreneurs who have come to me where the prototype wasn't a full-fledged product. It was a half-baked prototype.
Testing phase. Yeah.
Presented to me, and I'll give an example, right? There is this platform called Fankind, fankind.org. Okay, Fankind is basically unreal experiences with celebrities, which money cannot buy, but Fankind can provide you if you donate to a charity of the celebrity's choice. When the founder met me for the first time, her name is Anshula Kapoor. She didn't have the full-fledged website and the app ready. She came to me at that time with just a PPT, with just a wireframe, and explained how this is going to work. And if you're meeting the smart investors, if you're meeting the right investors, they will see through it as to what your potential is. Today, Fankind is one of the startups in SparkNext. Another startup I would say is a startup called Ace Blend, ACEBLEND. Ace Blend is today India's #1 vegan protein made from pea sauces. When the founder Shivam Hingorani came to SparkNext, came to us, that time he didn't come to us with a packet of the protein. He came to us with some research material as to what he's building. And he was able to express and convey that. Okay. So there are different kind of investors. There are investors which come at seed stage, at people who come at seed stage at times. If you have the entire prototype, like we came in at the seed stage, right? So it was okay for us to not have the complete prototype. But if you're coming at the angel stage, that time people actually want some traction. So you better have a prototype which is working in a full-fledged model to get your traction. So you have to also be very smart in what kind of people you're approaching, what kind of startups. You have to study them. The person that you're meeting, it's not enough that he's an investor, so I'm going and meeting him. What kind of an investor is he? Is he an early stage investor? Is he a seed stage investor? Is he an angel investor? Is he someone who is a Series A investor? See the kind of investments they have done. Accordingly, figure out whether you need a prototype or you don't need a prototype to convey your idea.
So, sir, I think there are last two questions they'll start with. So Ruksar is asking that what is the strategy that we can take if a company is in difficulties or failures so that it can bounce back?
What strategies can we take if we are in a difficulty? Now, the thing is, there are certain things which are very sector specific. So what a travel company will do today will be very different than what a company which is into retail would do or into fashion retail would do. Okay. Because they'll come up with their own innovative strategies to bounce back. But there are a few things that you should definitely do. Okay. The first thing that you should do if you're a company is start having very honest and open communication with your team members and also with your customers. Okay. At times, the solution to what you have to innovate is within your organization, but you're so high-headed with your idea that you're not ready to listen to your team. Listen to your team. Then listen to your customers. They are the people you're going to sell your product to. They know what they want. Go have a conversation, pick up the phone, speak to them. There is so much of online chatter. A lot of times brands today are responding to people on social media and other places. They're just responding as a customer care thing. They're not responding to understand what people want today. That is the thing that you could, that's the best justice that you could do. I think that is something that you could do. And I think a great innovation or great ideas could come through that. Also in these times, it is very important that while you, uh, prepare, while you hope for the best, that better times will come, you prepare for the worst. Okay. And the best way to prepare for the worst is to have a very good grip on your cash flows. They say that revenues is vanity, profits is sanity, but cash flows is the only reality. So if the cash flow is not flowing in a company, nothing will happen. Stop all kind of spends right now. Okay. Don't increase spend. Now, when I say spend, that doesn't mean that if you have genuine team members, you fire them. In fact, we as a company, GoZoop, have given this commitment that no, not a single COVID-19 related layoff. But it means that be very, very measured on the frivolous expenses that normally happen for an organization. Okay? And conserve cash. If you start conserving right now, a lot of people are thinking, Abhi to theek hai, we'll see after 1 month whether we should start conserving cash. This is the time. Start early conserving cash. That is what is going to help you. The other thing that what you have to do to bounce back is, no matter how big you're a company, you have to have the mindset of a startup. You have to act, think, and behave like a startup. You have to be agile. And inside your organization, can you create a small team for a new idea and let them be independent and see how that develops, while at the same time become a hedgehog for all the other things that you're doing in the company. Don't lose focus of that. What you're doing, get better at it, and let a small team work on a startup idea so that you can create a new service offering, or you can create a new product offering, or you can better the things the way you are doing it. So I think a combination of these things will take you through this crisis into better times to come.
So the last question is, like, you are a VC, we know. So what do you actually look while one is presenting the idea? So we have also gone to many business competitions, but most of them we won, but some of them we failed. But we didn't know what they were actually looking for in our PPTs and our ideas. So what do you suggest?
See, the first thing that I look for is whether the startup is actually solving a problem. First of all, is there a problem, or is there an unmet need of the audiences that this startup is solving? That is very important. And if they're solving this problem, can that convert into a fundamentally strong business model? It may not make money today, but if it scales up and unit economics are right, will it be able to become the next big thing? Can it scale up? Can it make new money? That is one thing that I really look at. Okay, so that is very important for me. It is also very important for me as a VC is that if I'm spending my time with a startup, I don't want 2x returns. I don't want 3x returns. Okay, I want bigger returns. So can your model scale up exponentially in times to come? I can have my patience and gestation period for 24 months, for 36 months, for 48 months. But after that, is your company, will it be able to scale up? Because there are certain businesses which are actually not VC funded. And I get so many people saying, come fund us. But their business model is a service oriented business model, or their business model is a business model which doesn't require VC funding. So I ask myself that, if I put in money, and am I going to get a 8x, 10x, a 20x return in times to come? Okay. And is the entrepreneur able to show that realistically at times? Okay. In a best case scenario. I also really appreciate when an entrepreneur comes to me and says that, you know what, this is the best case scenario where you can get a 10x return. This is a realistic scenario where you can get a 6x return. And this is a worst case scenario. What will happen, right? So when an entrepreneur comes, which is so level-headed and which is not just trying to sell me a rosy picture, and is mindful that anything can go wrong, anything can happen, I start valuing the entrepreneur even more. Okay. Definitely, I look at who the entrepreneur is. Okay. I look at what kind of values that the person has. Because if I have to work with that person, and if I have to meet that person, give advice, mentor that person, that should be a person whose values at least I resonate with. If he thinks that laying off people during COVID-19 times is the right thing to do, and I think it's the wrong thing to do, then it's not going to work out between us. Okay, so having similar values, and it may not overlap completely, but at least 9 out of 10 values should be same. That is very important for me to see in a thing. And then I also see that is there a big enough market for this? Okay, whichever the startup is entering into, is there a large enough addressable market which people will be willing to pay? So those are few of the things that I look at before taking things ahead with a startup and an entrepreneur which comes to me.
So I think this is the time, and most of the people are feeling like it's too long. So I would wish to conclude by saying all those insights that you gave to us. The most fruitful among those were that you were really like a student. You got a placement and you left that. It's very nice that you came up with a friend, brainstormed your ideas, and then accidentally found a company called GoZoop. It was a part accident and part conviction. That is really like that happens by chance. So coming on to uh, the one thing that you said that evoked some sentences in me is that innovate or die. So I got to know about Gandhiji that necessity is the mother of all innovation. So that was really striking. So also one of your things is like the these black swan events are only the origins to all the innovations. That was also very much like encouraging to us because in these COVID, because this COVID time is also one of the black swan event, and this will strike us to innovate something for us also. Or also one of the thing is that always if you don't take your 100% of the shot, you're really gonna miss it. So yes, I like it. And also you should also take an initiative. One should also take an initiative. A power of a simple mail is also good to incubate one company. Then yeah, we can understand it. Also don't be rushed, just be fast, takes lean steps and become good. Coming on to is how you told us about the risk that doing when you go for a risk, that is good that you take a risk, but when you are sometimes when you are not doing anything, that is also a great amount of risk that you are taking. So that was nice. Your book called Good to Great by Jim Collins, will really read that. I'll ask my batchmates to read it. Secondly is how did you maintain persistencies in the face of adversaries? The three P's that you suggested: profit, passion, and purpose. Profit, where there is businesses generating some money to keep you afloat. Passion is that you're enjoying the work. Purpose is something that does not let you leave the idea when there is an adversary. So coming over, you also explained us the meaning of culture, that how it keeps you connected. Even the small employees think good about you, then that is good for your organization also. And also when you go for a co-founder or a partner to find a company, your values should be same. So I think that was very good. And also never compromise on your values in long run. That'll keep your company in very good hands and also in very good minds. So thank you, sir. It was a very insightful journey. We'll connect with you in some later time
All
also.
the best.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Okay.
Take care, guys. See you soon. Let's stay connected on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram. Stay in touch. Keep me updated with what you guys are doing. And you can always reach out to me.
Thank you, sir.
Bye. Take care.
Bye.